Yep, Felidar Guardian is super duper banned in Standard, which means that the floodgates are open and we are going to build so much stuff. Luckily, we've been working on a new Standard list for a little while now and the Felidar ban doesn't hit us at all. Today we're looking at budget blue-red Counterburn, a deck full of counter magic, removal, and a pretty swank win condition that's legitimately competitive. This deck's actually good. As we go through the video, we'll show you the price of each card on tcgplayer.com right now, and if you want to build the deck yourself, or buy any of the pieces for it, you can click the first link in the description. The entire deck is $25 by the way, so go nuts. Alright, without further ado, I hope you enjoy. Blue-red Counterburn is a strategy that goes back a long time, a spell-slinging deck that thrives on low-cost, interactive, instant-speed spells that eventually win by out-tempoing the opponent. We'll begin with our main win condition, Enigma Drake. Oh yeah, we're going super deep here. Enigma Drake is everything we want in a creature. 3 mana is cheap, it has flying, and its power is entirely based on how many spells we've slung so far. And one of the best parts, it comes with 4 toughness. That's huge in the current Standard environment. 4 toughness survives a lot of damage-based removal and survives combat engagements pretty well. Think of it as the Spellheart Chimera of its time. The only other creature in the deck is Brawl, Chief of Compliance, and let me tell you right now, this human wizard knows how to party. When he hits the battlefield, your entire deck opens up. We're about to cover the 28 instants and sorceries in the deck, but believe you me, when they all cost 1 mana less, there's not much you can't do. Plus, he makes a way better target for your opponent's removal than Enigma Drake. If he does stay alive though, gonna be difficult for you to lose, trust me. So it's pretty clear what the plan is. Cast a ton of spells on the cheap, wreck with our Enigma Drake. Now, to do this, we're going to need a powerful spell package, and luckily we have that. Even the budget version is packing some serious heat. The rest of the non-land cards in the deck are instants and sorceries, so let's get right to it. We'll begin with counters. We're running a playset of Censor. Censor's already underrated. No one expects Force Spike, and if the game goes too long, you can cycle it for a measly 1 blue mana. It goes to your graveyard, pumping your Enigma Drake, and you cycle through your deck. Censor is all upside. Great way to punish your opponents for tapping out early or even in the mid-game. We're also running 2 Reduce to Rubble. Reduce is the budget alternative to Disallow, but it performs its job valiantly. It's the same cost, and forcing your opponent to pay 3 extra mana isn't going to be something they can do for a long time. Now obviously this isn't Disallow, but there is some added value when it goes to the graveyard. Rubble isn't your best spell, but it can help turn on Censor, another Reduce, or simply stall your opponent's board development, which is huge in a deck that thrives on ruining tempo. The last counter in the deck is Negate. We're only main decking 1, but I've been going between 1 and 3. Negate hits almost everything good in the format, but with the Felidar ban, we have no idea what's coming. I'd suggest main decking a number of Negates and sideboarding enough to reach a full playset. Card's crazy strong. Also, with all of these counters, we do get some neat synergy with Brawl. Cycling through the deck is always good, plus imagine all these counters, but 1 mana cheaper. Pretty difficult to deal with long term. 7 counters plus Brawl, not bad. We've covered the counter and Counterburn, now it's time to cover the burn. The main difference between this Counterburn deck and the Counterburn decks of old is that we don't have burn to hit the face directly. We're focusing on keeping the board clear. That's why the deck runs playsets of Magma Spray and Harness Lightning, 2 of the best removal spells in the format right now. Magma Spray straight up kills Scrap Heap Scrounger, there's value in that already, but between these 2 cards you should be able to take down most anything your opponents play early, which again is the primary goal, get them off to a slow start. The last burn spell in the deck is my favorite, Sweltering Suns. Thanks to cycling, the Suns doesn't really have the downside other cards like it have to deal with. If you're against a creature-heavy deck, enjoy Anger of the Gods. If you aren't, cycle it away and it pumps up your Enigma Drake, no harm done. We're only running 2 in the main deck, but that's because of an unknown metagame. Again, thanks to cycling, the risk isn't so big, and it protects us against any deck that's running low to the ground. It's good stuff. We have our counter and we have our burn. All that's left to do is supplement that with good old-fashioned card draw. And luckily, most of the best card draw in the game is super cheap. We'll begin with 3 Pull from Tomorrow, arguably one of the best blue cards to come out of Amonkhet. I won't sugarcoat my words here. Pull from Tomorrow is absurdly ridiculous. It isn't Sphinx's Revelation, but let's be honest, nothing is. Pull from Tomorrow is as good as it's gonna get, and it's more than adequate. Instant speed, you draw as much as you can and discard 1 card. Has serious value in the late game, refills your hand, and you can cast it advantageously thanks to the instant speed. It'll put you way ahead, bring you back into games you might be losing your grip on. Pull from Tomorrow is one of the MVPs of this deck, it's super strong. We're also running Glimmer of Genius and Anticipate as our other draw spells, both instant speed, both relatively cheap for their effect. Glimmer of Genius also adds energy, which has incidental synergy with Harnessed Lightning. It's not a bad interaction there, but the main thing to focus on is that you can cast either of these cards in a reactive manner. You can keep your shields up, then use them whenever you have the chance. Add Brawl into the mix and Glimmer of Genius becomes beyond insane, and Anticipate is basically broken. Solid card draws, perfect for what we're trying to do here. We're left with land cards, and because we've made the super budget, we're only running a pair of Highland Lake alongside 12 islands and 11 mountains. 25 lands, pretty simple. Now, the land count is a bit higher than normal for a deck like this, especially with a curve as low as we have, but we need that additional mana for multiple casts each turn, bigger pull from tomorrows, and the ability to Glimmer of Genius and hold up counter magic. Same with Enigma Drake. With the amount of cycling and card draw in the deck, it performs perfectly fine, and mana floods are relatively uncommon. This deck brings the best of blue and red together to create a perfect storm of anger, destruction, chaos, and extreme annoyance. The point of blue-red Counterburn is to out-tempo your opponent, gaining incremental advantages through favorably timed counter magic, removal spells, card drawing spells, and eventually when the coast is clear or your opponent is low on resources, you smack them with an Enigma Drake and let the bad boy take the game home for you in a couple swings. What you want to do is get your Brawl out early if you can. He'll either absorb removal spells meant for the Enigma Drake, or he'll catapult your game speed ahead a couple of turns. Brawl is incredibly dangerous and will be underestimated. Take advantage of that. All you have to do then is avoid playing cards on your turn. Wait for your opponent to overreach, then shut them down with counter magic if your removal can't deal with whatever they play, or let them play their puny creatures and shoot them down with lightning. You should be dictating the pace of the game, so keep that in mind. Cast spells when you have to at the last possible moment. Instant speed is your friend. That's the most important rule here. Lastly, protect your drakes. Try to have some type of disruption before you send it out there. Your opponent is going to know that's one of your best creatures, so treat it as such. Let's talk sideboard, then upgrades. The sideboard for this deck is a bit different than other blue-red decks in that you're going to prioritize other counter spells more than you normally might. Depending on how your local meta shapes up, you'll want a combination of more Negate, Dispel, and Essence Scatter. Each of these are great, they're all cheap, wide-reaching, and pretty amazing for your deck. I'd dedicate at least 5 to 6 slots in your board to these specific kinds of counter spells. Beyond that, Release the Gremlins is still pretty great against vehicles or any artifact deck that crosses your path. Galvanic Bombardment is a nice addition when you're against decks that are pretty low to the ground and you need more early game removal. Against slower decks or any type of control strategy, Fevered Visions could come in handy. That damage adds up fast. And believe it or not, Sphinx of the Final Word, while expensive, is also a crazy hilarious sideboard card against control strategies, kind of an ace in the hole. If you want to upgrade this list, you can make it truly beefy. Your entire land package changes as you add Spire Bluff Canal, Wandering Fumarole, and Ether Hub. The hub is also nice because it synergizes with Harness Lightning. It's a nice little interaction there. I would also upgrade Reduce to Rubble into Disallow and run a full playset. Why force your opponent to pay 3 mana when you can avoid giving them the choice altogether, am I right? Easy upgrade there. And finally, your win condition. If you're going to go ham with this deck, you need Torrential Gearhulk. That stupid construct is the bee's knees for a deck like this. Inevitability, card advantage up the wazoo, flash, and it's difficult to deal with. It's the whole package. If you want to take the next step, these are the cards you need to look at, but fear not, the budget version is still quite strong. Stronger than you might think. So you can build this budget blue-red Counterburn deck right now for a little over $20. Synergistic, great interactions, amazingly fun to play, and competitive. What else could you ask for? If you want to see the list or purchase any of the cards in it, be sure to click the first link in the description. Also, if there are any new strategies you want to see tech, be sure to let me know in the comments and I'll add them to the list. We're testing with a ton right now, so expect a lot more deck techs, both budget and non-budget, to hit you in the faces real soon. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.